Okay, jumping right in. It is week 2 of 2019, and for my second book, I've chosen to read Rising Strong by Brene Brown. And whew, this was a it was good. At least for me, as far as where I'm at in life, it really spoke to me, really made me think, made me sit with some things that I didn't want to sit with, but it was good. Um, so I loved it. And I'm going to go ahead and start by reading the little descriptor on the back, and then I will go into what my favorite quotes were from the book and some takeaways, and then what I rated this reading for the week. All right. Living a brave life is not always easy. We stumble and we fall. It is the rise from falling that Brene Brown takes her subject in Rising Strong. Brown has listened to a range of people from leaders in Fortune 500 companies and military to artists, couples in long-term relationships, teachers, and parents, shared their stories of being brave, falling, and getting back up. She asked herself, what do these people have in common? The answer was clear. They recognize the power of emotion and they are not afraid to lean into discomfort. The process of regaining our footing in the midst of struggle is where our courage is tested and our values forged. We reckon with our emotions and get curious about what we're feeling. We rumble with our stories until we get to a place of truth. And we live this process every day until it becomes a practice and creates nothing short of a revolution in our lives. Rising strong after a fall is how we cultivate wholeheartedness. This process teaches us the most about who we are. Whew. Even that, I was like, that was good. All right. So basically, it's about living a more wholehearted life and really leaning into those times of discomfort and figuring out what is that? Why do I react the way I react to certain things? How can I understand myself better? How can I treat others better? It's just, that's kind of the gist of what it was about. So this book was about 277 pages long, so it wasn't as long as my first one. But in my first one, it was more of a story, so it was easy and quick read for me. This one, it was a quick read, but I had to stop because I highlighted, you see all my little tabby tabs. I tabbed my favorite quotes, even some books she mentions that I want to go read now, and then some parts that I want to go back later and journal about. And so it was a good read. It was a deep read. It was, you can't sit here and read it and then not walk away thinking a little bit differently. So at least that's how I perceived it. And I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of my favorite quotes from the book. One of them was, and I tabbed them, what I love about this book and just the way it was created is that the beginning of each chapter, she has a little graphic of the quote that she mentions within the chapter. So I showed you my first one, but it says, the middle is messy, but it's also where the magic happens. And so when I read that, I was like, ooh, that's so good. Because oftentimes, and she described things in 3 acts and talked about story and characters, that act 1, that's all the fun, excitement. Act 2, that's where they're at the lowest of the low, that they're in the arena, face in the ground, the blood, the dirt, the sweat. That's the part we want to skip over to get to the end, to the, ooh, yay, we won, and everything worked out great. But what we need to realize is in that mess, in that middle part, when we're face down in the dirt, when we're confronted by something, how we choose to get up from that, how we choose to see what's around us is what determines who we are and how we get through things in life. And so I love it because nobody's perfect. Like, life is a mess. And this was like the realest quote for me. Like, we're all in the middle of life. Like, things are messy. Things are not going to be put together perfect. And we got to sit in that. And that's so uncomfortable for people. It's so uncomfortable for me sometimes to sit in that mess. But lately I've realized sitting in that is when I get the most insight, when I really discover breakthrough and where change happens. And so that quote is probably going to be on my wall somewhere, probably next week, because it was so good. And then a second quote, let's see where I tabbed them all. So let me get to it. Where'd it go? Was it this one or was it that one? Okay. Here's the second one. It says, the most dangerous stories we make up are the narratives that diminish our inherent worthiness. We must reclaim the truth about our lovability, divinity, and creativity. And so reading that quote, and like I said, talking about story, and about the things we perceive to be happening out there. You know, we're walking down the street and someone gives us a dirty look and we think, oh man, they don't like me. They're judging me, blah, blah, blah. Little do we know, what if something got in their eye? What if they're staring like beyond you? You have no idea, but you have this story that you're being perceived negatively, and your worthiness is being based on the story you're making up about someone else and the way they're viewing you. And that's dangerous because we often sit in that. We often take in, oh, someone did this, someone's acting this way. They must be angry. They must be frustrated at me. They must not like me. They must think I'm fat. They must think I'm ugly, blah, 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 blah. Like, we come up with all these stories, and when the truth is, it has nothing to do with that at all. And so the part I love about this quote is that we have to reclaim those stories. And the truth about it is who we are, not what we perceive other people to be seeing about us. And so that was my second quote. And the last one, and I shared this with my husband, and I love this one. Probably going to put this somewhere on my wall too. It says, integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fast, fun, or easy. I said that backwards. And choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. So I'm going to pause because that's like, let that sit in. That was good. I often hear people talk about integrity and, oh, I'm a man of integrity. I'm a woman of integrity. I stick to my word. Yada, yada, yada. People want to be known for being integrous. And so the part about that makes integrity real is that an integrous person, they choose courage over comfort. When they don't want to, when they're in a situation where they can either shrink back or step forward, a person that's integrity says, no matter what I'm feeling right now, no matter who's around me, I'm going to step up because this is the right thing to do. I'm going to step up in boldness and courage. I'm not just going to sit here and be comfortable and be an audience member. And the part I love about this quote is it says they choose to practice their values rather than simply professing them. How often I hear people say, oh, I'm this type of person, or I really care about others, or I'm just loving, and then I turn around and see I'm acting crazy. And it makes me think, how are you really practicing the things that you value, the person you say you are? Are you practicing that every day? Because no matter what we value or who we want to be, if we're not practicing that daily, we're not going to be that person. That's just the truth. So I really love that quote too. And those were some of my quotes that I loved. And there was one page that I will share. There were a couple of questions that I'm going to journal about later that really stuck out to me. And so I'm going to read page 115. It says, how can we expect people to put value on our work when we don't value ourselves enough to set and hold uncomfortable boundaries? And this really stuck out to me because she told a story of a conference she went to that she didn't want to go to, but she felt obligated to go to because she was putting her value in the wrong thing. And so she didn't hold that boundary of saying, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't feel comfortable. And so for me, that question just makes me think, like, if we can't hold those boundaries, if I can't tell somebody, no, I don't think I'm going to help out with this, or I don't think I'm not capable, but I don't think I want to explore that area or go into that thing when I know in my heart I don't want to do it. And when I choose to hold those boundaries, even though I feel I'm the kind of person, I'll put my book down, I'm the kind of person that feels bad saying no. I really do, because my heart wants to help. It wants to give. It wants to serve. It wants to love others. And so for me, saying no is really uncomfortable. Like if you ask me something more than often, I'm going to say yes. But saying no as far as like helping others and doing things like that, that's hard for me. But I've learned that I have to set those boundaries because I can't say yes to everything. I can't be everywhere at once. And not everything is meant for me to participate in. And not everything's going to benefit me or encourage me or develop me. And I have to be really picky about the things I say yes to. And so for me, holding uncomfortable boundaries looks like saying, no, I don't think so, or I'm going to sit this one out, or thanks for thinking about me, but that's not really something I'm interested in. And kind of like setting that, and it's like, it's hard because you don't want to tell someone like, oh, I don't like that or whatever. But you have to practice the values and be that integrous person and practice what you say you are, who you say you are, what you say you believe in. And so I thought that question is just beautiful to ask yourself. What uncomfortable boundaries are you holding that others can value you for? So those are just some key points from the book that really stuck out to me. The whole book's amazing. There's a lot I didn't go into. But if you're someone who's, coming across situations when you find yourself face down in the dirt and you want to know how to figure out what's going on, what's rumbling on the inside of you, how to get up from those things and become a person who lives wholeheartedly and rises strong, then this book is for you. If you're someone who's at a point when you're trying to figure yourself out, trying to figure out who you are, trying to be brave, trying to be more bold, this is a book for you. I'd recommend it to anyone as far as like learning how to communicate with others, learning how things are being perceived, learning your story, learning that sometimes our story is wrong. Sometimes our story is not exactly accurate, and how to reel that back and how to figure it out, how to rumble with it. So I recommend this book. For me personally, I would rate this a 10 out of 10 because it made me dig deep and made me do some work and made me think. And I would recommend this to any of my friends. So my friends out there, you better pick this book up or you better ask me to send it to you. I would definitely recommend that you read it. And if you've read this book before, I would say give me your opinions, your comments below. I'd love to see what you felt about it, how you feel about her work on shame and all that kind of stuff. And I think that is it. And so that's my book number 2 for the year. And so for next week, I've actually chosen a really hard book that I'm kind of scared to read, but it's all about growth, and I'm just jumping forward. So next week, I'm going to be reading this book called On Being Human by Erich Fromm. And so it's a pretty philosophical, heavy book, psychology book. And I feel like for me, I'm going to get a lot out of it. If you're into psychology, if you're into different theories and things like that, and you've read this book, let me know what you think. But I'm going to be diving in. It's not a very long book. It's about 170 pages. But I feel like I'm going to have to take a long time to read because it's pretty wordy and things like that. All right. So that's it for me. And thank you guys for listening.